Okay, here we go. Welcome to an episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we're going to have a little quick comparison for you guys between these two glorious Hanhart watches. I do have this 415 ES Reverse Panda on the left-hand side in on loan, so I thought why not do a dedicated video comparing it to my beloved 417 ES 1954 Flyback Panda. So, of course, there are some aesthetic similarities here, being from the same brand and the same family. There are also a lot of similarities, and I figured, honestly, I was so torn by how much I enjoyed this watch, because on paper it's quite monochromatic and it's just maybe a little vanilla for some folks, but I will say it begged to be worn. This watch is absolutely a versatile king in terms of, if this was in my collection, it might end up being one of my more worn watches. And as much as I love the uniqueness of my Panda dial variation, as well as the pop of red, the very traditional layout of it, I have to say this black dial Reverse Panda really did a number on me. So before we get any further, a little bit more about Hanhart. They're originally founded back in Switzerland in 1882 and relocated to Germany in 1902, and they're best known for their historic pilot chronographs, similar to these. Now, in terms of the types of watches, these are pilot's watches and chronographs. On the pilot's watch side, you're going to want to find that balance of both legibility and functionality. And on the chronograph side, you're going to find external pushers to activate timing functions, multiple subdials to measure elapsed time, often featuring additional scales dependent on that subgenre. On the left-hand side, we have the 415 ES Reverse Panda, and on the right-hand side, we have the 417 ES 1954 Flyback Panda. And yes, they are killers. I just love both of these watches. And again, it's a bit of a struggle for me. So I thought, why not have a conversation with you guys? Let me know what you think out of these two. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get these pieces in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, guys. Now, essentially, in terms of dimensions, they are the same. They pretty much just have different bezels. One is going to be a beautiful bidirectional 60 click, while the other is going to be a more traditional friction fit bidirectional. This one really invites you to fidget with it and play with it. The clickiness is outstanding, whereas this one you kind of just want to leave it alone, but when you use it, the nice thing is with that bold red color as well as the historical significance, it just feels right. But having both of these side by side, my goodness, both of them are quite gorgeous and quite legible for considering that they're 39 millimeter chronograph watches with a fair amount of information. Thankfully, they're bi-compact style, so you're going to have 2 subdials versus 3, so it does help give those dials a bit of breathing room. But again, this one really won me over, the 415 ES Reverse Panda. Something about it, again, on paper, maybe a little plain, maybe even a little vanilla. Whereas here, you're going to have that pop, that contrast. Of course, the whole, the Steve McQueen vibe that you're going to get from this piece is really outstanding. But I have to say, I can't understate the versatility and just the tool-like nature that just makes this watch beg to be worn. And then you have little details like the fill on that ceramic bezel insert that's actually silver instead of white, a very pale silver, and it looks fantastic, and it sounds and feels glorious. It is just lovely, guys. So very nice. Definitely feeling this one. But yeah, out of these two, when you look at these two, of course, let's give this one a little bit of time. Now, of course, I have reviewed both of these watches already. So for the full reviews, I'll definitely leave the links at the end of the video. I'm not going to drag this one on too long here, guys, because you've already had all of the details previously. Again, this is more aesthetically what do you choose, because price-wise, they're very similar. This one is going to have a more advanced movement, being a flyback chronograph, meaning that you can hit and it's going to fly right on back. Versus the more traditional chronograph here, but where this one has, a little bit of an increased cost is if you get it on this updated bracelet, you're going to have a toolless micro adjusting clasp. So that is quite nice and of course quite desirable in today's market. So even when it's fully extended, the nice thing is it is not an eyesore at all. It's still quite nice. So very cool. A lot of great functionality there, and of course the looks on this one. This is gorgeous. Whereas here you're gonna have, I believe, the later generations, once they restock this, are gonna have the newer updated clasp, of course, which will add additional cost. Well, for me, this clasp works really, really well. I love how thin and svelte everything is. It feels, everything just feels very much in place. And in terms of the wear profile, it works for me absolutely. Speaking of wear, let's actually get these on the wrist and compare. Okay, guys, as you can see on my 7.5 or 19 centimeter in circumference wrist, wears like an absolute charm. My goodness. 39 millimeters, again, very legible and definitely uncluttered, which I can absolutely appreciate. On the other side, though, still quite nice. Look at that. Comes together beautifully. Of course, if we're getting wrist a bit too close to the camera lens, you notice a fair amount of perspective distortion. It's going to make the watch seem a lot larger than it actually is. So I'll keep my wrist nice and low and then just tighten up the frame here for a more detailed look. But just add a bit of a true aspect ratio as how this may lay on your own wrist. And man, does this lay beautifully. And yes, this one does as well. My gosh, just gorgeous. You can see nice and svelte. And of course, these are mechanical chronographs, so they can be quite thick. In this case, I think quite well balanced, especially when you think about this chunkier clasp with the toolless micro adjustment. It all feels quite balanced, which is nice. Still feels a nice amount overbuilt as well. But let me know what you guys think aesthetically. There's something very special about, of course, traditional Panda dial. The beautiful outline of contrast there over the white on white when you're looking at that day lume, as well as that, white color of the dial itself. Versus here, a bit more monochromatic, a little bit more toned down. But once we get to the lume, you're going to notice that this does have some secrets in terms of a dynamic nature that is just chilling underneath its sleeve there. And it doesn't jump out at you as reading or rendering that way until you get it in the dark. So with that said, let's go ahead and get these pieces off the wrist, set up for some lume shots, the light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Ooh, yes, look at that. One of them definitely has a bit of advantage in the lume department, guys. But I think they both look outstanding, especially considering that they are pilot watches. And while it's always appreciated in terms of great lume, not necessarily what pilots' watches are known for. But from my understanding, speaking to a couple of modern pilots today, with the blacked out cockpits, many commercial flyers, I should say pilots, will be flying in. Something with a good amount of lume is actually going to really help with legibility throughout dark hours. But one thing I'm always going to like to work in is going to be a bit of a low light transition. And here you're going to notice, guys, that in terms of level of legibility, both can be quite legible, but you can see that more traditional black and white colorway in terms of the reverse Panda is going to maintain a higher contrast throughout, whereas the white on white nature of that Panda dial, although it does have the darker outlines, there are going to be times when things may feel a bit washed out and a little bit lower in contrast, but they are quite nice. You can also notice that the black subdials on that Panda dial do have a nice bit of beautiful radial texturing versus the more flat nature of the Lume subdials on the other side. So both quite good here, guys. Can't really be mad at either. These are just great looking watches, and I wish I owned them both. So I don't know, you guys might end up seeing this 415 line end up in my long-term collection, because it is just, it's really done a number on me, I have to say. And again, I love this 417. This one is very special, and it is quite iconic and more signature to the Hanhart brand. But I have to say the 415 is no slouch. And then with the additional, levels of versatility, I dig that a lot. It just seems really, really fun and versatile. Again, it begs to be on my wrist, and it's just a loaner. So again, I'll be quite sad. I'm glad, and I appreciate Hanhart lending this one in a little bit longer so that I could also get this quick video side-by-side comparison for anybody that might be cross-shopping these two models. But let me know what you all think down in the comments below. If you like the video, please like, and if you're not already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Again, guys, don't forget, full reviews already available for both of these watches, so go ahead and check out the links to them here. So if you do want to get the full breakdown, of course, absolutely dig in deep, do the deep dive, and get all of those full details. Thanks, guys.